Welcome to my May 8th video update. Keeping your mobile devices fully charged or charged is problematic at best, and especially when you're recording and doing video recording. This was really driven home to me recently as we had a really severe storm come through, and it brought with it a tornado that touched down just a quarter of a mile away from us, and we lost power. Now, there was good news and bad news. The bad news was there was a lot of damage. The good news for us was we were one of the lucky ones. It touched down, went through about a quarter mile away from our house, but we didn't have any damage, fortunately. And two, we were out of power just for two and a half days, whereas some people were out of power for 3 to 5 days, even more in some cases. So we were very lucky. But this drove home the need for having candles, flashlights, and batteries to use in the flashlights if the ones that are in there are not fully charged, and some other way to charge devices, especially mobile devices, because we don't have transistor radios anymore, and that used to be how we'd get information about storms. Now we get it through our smartphones, and the cell towers were still functioning, so we were still able to do that. So having power to your devices is really important in a lot of situations, not just recording. And so what I had at the time were 3 power banks, and that's what I want to talk a bit about today. So the first 2 that I had were 2 small lipstick-like power banks that are from Anker. I love Anker. Anker has great products, quality products, and they work. So this is a great size because it fits very nice in your pocket. And alternatively, you can use a rubber band or a bungee cord or something and wrap this around a monopod or a tripod and charge your smartphone while you're recording or while you're using it. That's very handy. So they come in these nice little pouches. I have the first generation. The second generation is called a Anker PowerCore Mini. The original one is just Mini. The second one is Plus. And the first generation is rated at what is called milliamps. Milliamps is how you compare different power banks as to their storage supply of power to be able to charge your units. My first one has a milliamp rating of 3,200, and the newer one is 3,500. Not a big difference, but they're sufficient to fully charge a smartphone. You know, they have to be charged obviously as well, so that in case of an impending storm, or going out on a trip where you're going to want to use them, you may need to make sure they're fully charged when you're at home or close to a power supply. And I carry with me, I have in each of these little bags, and these didn't come with them, but I purchased these short lightning cables so that I always have a lightning cable to connect my iPhone. What I did learn is that these will not charge my iPad. I hadn't tried them with the iPad, and they don't work with the iPad, but they do work with the smartphone. So it takes a micro USB, and I have a micro USB cable with this other one. The micro USB cable will charge the unit, and then you can charge your phone. So that is one of the devices that I have, or power banks that I have for charging mobile units like smartphones and iPads. The second one I had, and I've had this for a while, I had this before I had the other 2, and I don't remember what the milliamp rating is. I'm thinking it's around 13,000, but it's no longer carried by Anker, and so therefore I can't find, and I don't have the manual, but it comes with a power plug that you have to plug into the wall, which is one of the disadvantages of this one, is, in my opinion. Everything is now USB, and it's so handy because you can charge it on them almost anywhere. And airports, cars, anything are now equipped with USB ports to do just that. But this Anker unit is bigger, it's a little bit heavier, but it also will do more. It's, as I said, I think it's rated at 13,000. It could be more. I don't think it's any higher than 15,000. And it has 2 USB outputs, and then of course the plug for charging, and then it has an output that I believe works with Samsung phones. And when you push the button, turn it on, you see the 4 lights come on, and that tells you it's fully charged. All 4 cells are charged, and as it's being used to charge something else, it discharges and those lights go out, and so you have an indication of how much power you have left. So this is a nice unit, but it will charge the iPad. I have a 10.5 iPad Pro, and it charges it nicely. Doesn't charge it fast, but it does charge it. And when you're in a situation like as we were, and we had our 2 grandchildren with us, and they had the little, we have iPad. They have actually Fire tablets, I believe. And they can watch videos on that. And so in a storm like that, it's nice to have that to entertain them. And we were able to charge them up. I also have an inverter, which you plug into the light, the old lighter port in your car, and it provides you with, it inverts the current so that you can now plug in things into it. So my wife's car always has power, and so I could plug that in and go outside and plug these chargers into it to charge them up, and it kept us in business. And then the last one is one I just got, really just last week, really. It is a solar, and it's not Anker, it's FLOCHY, PLOCHY, Solar Power Bank. And it has solar cells, and so it can be charged using solar power, although that's really only intended for an emergency. But it has a micro USB cable for charging it. So you can plug this into a computer, or you can plug it into an adapter into a power outlet and charge the unit. And it has 3 USB outputs, and in addition to micro USB in, it has a lightning cable in. So if you have your iPhone and you have your lightning cable, you can use that to charge this unit. So it will charge either through the micro USB or through a lightning cable. And so this has a milliamp rating of 24,000 milliamps, and that's sufficient. And it's powerful enough output that it will charge my iPad Pro, my 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I'm not an electrical wizard by any means. I do know that milliamp is a unit of measure that lets me know how much power the unit will hold. And I know that amps and volts are output, and at a certain point, so 2.4 amps, 5 volts, 2.4 amps will charge an iPad Pro. Now, if I were going to leave home with just one of these, if it was a long trip, I would probably take the solar unit, because the solar unit has the advantage of, if I don't have power, if I'm out hiking or I'm camping or I'm someplace where I'm making videos someplace where there's no power outlets, I can use the sun to charge this. So 2 takeaways from this overview of power banks is they are very handy to have. But if you're going for the first time to buy one, and you'll see them at TJ Maxx and Ross's, and they're usually on that rack as you're checking out of places. You'll see all these power bank deals that are $5.95 or $9.99 or whatever. I believe the 2 small lipstick size ones through Amazon are around $17. There's a 5,000 milliamp unit for $16.99, and Anker's a very reputable company. So don't just buy a no-name brand power bank is my one recommendation. But my first takeaway is get something that is at least 10,000 milliamps if you can. And it's, if you want something smaller and you can't get a unit that has that much storage power, then you have to sacrifice. But I would not go if you're just going to buy one. I would make sure I got one that had at least 10,000 milliamps. Number one. And number 2, make sure, and actually, I would recommend 20,000 or more. So if I were buying any newer ones after the solar one, I would make sure they were 20,000 or more milliamps storage capacity. The second takeaway is make sure that it will charge what you want to charge. Now, if it's just a smartphone, most of these will do that. And you're looking at the output amperage, and at the 2.1 port will not charge the iPad. The 2.4 amp output will charge my iPad. So make sure that it'll charge the largest thing that you want to charge. And if you have a capability of being able to charge a recorder, anything that really can be charged via USB can be charged with one of these if they produce enough power to charge the unit that you're wanting to to recharge. There's important considerations when you're thinking about buying a power bank. And it's just cheap insurance, really, to make sure that you don't run out of power. Okay, thank you very much for checking in on this video update, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye.